we shot 21 birds in the first 20 minutes. We're done. Our hunt was over with.
Yeah.
And so we're packing everything up, and we still have these cranes coming in and landing at decoys. We're like, man, we could probably go tackle them and get more, but that would be illegal. So,
Right.
I think it was much more than what we captured on film. And how does it compare to snow goose, for example? It seemed like the cranes were a lot closer than what the snow geese were.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. I'm Sam, I'm your host this week. Our podcast is driven by Ridge Rock Hunt Company, and I'll talk about them at the conclusion. Back on here again this week with a great group of folks from here at Fall Obsession. Returning, as was in the past couple episodes, Staff Manager Todd Sellen. Welcome back, Todd.
Hey, Sam. Good to see you again.
You too, man. Our Western Regional Staff Coordinator, Tyler Wolf, is with us. Welcome back, Tyler.
Hey, Sam.
And one of our staff members, Delaney Pfeiffer, is joining us as well. Welcome back to the podcast, Delaney.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you guys here recently, a couple months ago, got to take part in a really awesome experience for all of you, and that's kind of what we wanted to recap today. You got to come down to Texas on a Sandhill Crane hunt, which is ironic that we're talking about a Texas hunt, and me being the one from Texas, I'm not able to participate. I'm just hosting because I really would have liked to have been out there with y'all, but it didn't work out. But got to come down here, hunt some Sandhill cranes, some ribeye of the sky. Todd, I'm going to let you kind of kick things off and initiate the conversation with how this opportunity came about, and then we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty details, some lessons learned, and some of the awesome moments that y'all remember from this trip. So.
Sure. The idea of this hunt came at Snow Goose Camp last year when we were sitting around and we were talking after our, probably after one of our recordings of our unofficial couch chats, before that series started. But we were sitting around talking, and Andy Meeks from Minnesota came up with the idea. But he said one of his bucket list hunts is a crane hunt down in Texas. So again, when you go to camp and you get all these ideas, I came home and just started doing some research, and I found, I think 5 guys I threw out to the group, said, hey, what do you think of these 5 outfitters? And so we just kind of collaborated with one another, and we narrowed it down to Crooked Wing Outfitters, who did just a phenomenal job. They were really easy to communicate. They were very informative on the expectations and what to bring and that sort of thing. So how much everything costs. And so just very easy to put together, and we were able to make it work. We set a date that worked out for everybody. And, I'm sure Andy will go in a little more detail as to why it was a bucket list hunt next time we have him on. But that's where the idea started, and we were able to put it together, and it was just an incredible time. It was, just an amazing time, and it's something that we're looking forward to doing in the future as well.
Yeah. I love hearing about staff hunts. It's always a good experience to get our staff together and to watch those relationships and those bonds form over an experience like this. But this was everybody's first time to hunt Sandhill Crane. Is that correct?
Yep.
Tyler, I know you have some pretty extensive background with hunting various species and stuff like that. So what was this experience like for you going into it?
That's a good question. Obviously, being in the Central Flyway, we see a lot of geese. As Todd mentioned, we're going to go up to Squaw Creek here in a little bit and, hunt some snow goose. Obviously, the similarities are in that the flocks are just huge, right? There's thousands of birds in the sky, and they really are food driven at certain times of the day, just like a goose would be. And it was eye-opening for me because in Kansas, where we're at, we do see some Sandhill Crane, but not at the numbers you see down in Texas. Like especially where we were, they were just gathering there, like the storm, right? It was amazing. It was something like I would see, up near Cheyenne Bottoms, or a stopover on the Central Flyway for goose, but obviously for Sandhill Crane. So.
Yeah. Now, Delaney, what about you coming into this? Because I know the snow goose hunt last year was kind of a first time experience for you as well. So coming into this hunt down in Texas, what were your thoughts going into it?
So it's kind of a, kind of a screw it. What could possibly be any different from what I'm used to? I wanted to try, a whole bunch of new things. Because I would say the first new thing for me was the snow goose. So when this came up, I thought, screw it, why not? And so I went, and I went in there extremely open-minded, unaware of how many can fly over in a given period of time, and it has become one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever been a part of. And the fact that we got it on footage, was really, really cool to be able to rewatch it. I have made my whole family watch the footage. So I'm like, you guys need to do this sometime. So yeah, going into it, had no expectation, and it was exceeded.
Yeah, I know we had a lot of you guys down there that were filming either with your phones, your cameras, or GoPros, whatever the case might have been, and then we had all that footage compiled into our production room, and our production director Nick put something together with what y'all came up with. But the video itself made it look like an awesome trip. It's on our YouTube channel if the listeners want to go check it out. But how does that compare to reality with what we who were not there were able to see? Because I mean, we're watching these huge swarms of Sandhill Crane coming in, but I mean, what's it like having those things flying over you?
I actually think that watching the film, there was a lot more to what we witnessed beyond what we saw on video. We saw swarms, but it was like that constantly, even after we had maxed out. So we mentioned in the film, we shot 21 birds in the first 20 minutes. We're done. Our hunt was over with.
Yeah.
And so we're packing everything up, and we still have these cranes coming in and landing in at decoys. We're like, man, we could probably go tackle them and get more, but that would be illegal. So,
Right.
I think it was much more than what we captured on film. And how does it compare to snow goose, for example? It seemed like the cranes were a lot closer than what the snow geese were, and a lot louder.
Yeah,
it wasn't as constant as the snow geese. Geese, it still rings in my head. I can still hear the snow geese, but the crane was, periodic as they're coming. You could tell they were coming.
Yeah,
for sure. Delaney did a good job getting a lot of footage, but it was in a GoPro, right? And this one's got the fisheye view, and it's not a knock on GoPros, but you don't have the depth that you see. You're literally surrounded by birds when you're sitting in those little blinds, so it's hard to get.
I mean, like the GoPro itself obviously has a very front-on view. So I mean, there was so much like that it didn't capture, obviously, from like the sides of seeing them come in. And I think if as time goes on, I'd really like to kind of get more GoPros involved so we can get like the view of them coming in, and then the view of us like getting ready, And what's so funny is none of us had any idea how high quality the recording is. You can hear us saying, wow. So you don't see it, but you hear it. Yeah.
So how far in advance can you see or hear these things coming in? Because Texas is flat, especially out there where y'all were at. So is it just a gray cloud off in the distance that gets closer, or what's the deal?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. You hear it before you actually see them. And so, like you said, you look off in the distance and look at that. There's, like you said, a gray cloud, or there's specks in the sky, and they're getting closer. And pretty soon the birds are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and pretty soon they're right on top of you. So
I felt like it almost sounded like they were closer than they were. And you can see in the video many times you see Todd going like.
My brother was with us, and him and I hunt goose a lot, right? And if the guide wasn't there calling the shot, we would have stepped up so quick, so probably a minute before he called the shot, because like, they're right there, let's go get them.
Yeah.
But he was waiting, making us hold off, and I'm glad he did, because they sat down right in front of us.
Yeah. So I guess that's an interesting point right there. if he wasn't there, you would have shot earlier.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
What was his mindset for letting them settle in so much?
I would
Patience.
guess experience, right?
Yeah.
Experience to know that they're gonna sit down and just wait a little bit.
Wow.
And Jake, our first guy, we had Jake and Ethel, and Jake was a little energetic, to say the least. But he kept saying, got to be patient, got to be patient, got to be patient. And it was funny to sit with him because there was another outfitter off in the distance that was setting up. And like I said, we were done in 20 minutes, and it was funny to hear his reaction to them being out there, and we're already done. But at here, like I said, little high energy. But like Tyler said, his experience. We had one volley where they landed 75 birds, at least 75 birds. That was Jake's estimate. He said we had 75 birds on the ground here.
Wow.
And we were able to not put out 75, but get a few out of that volley. But man, to like Tyler said, goose hunting, I don't remember one goose landing last year. You know what I mean? We were shooting as they were coming in, but they never touched the ground.
Not of their own volition, anyways. And they landed eventually. But...
Oh yeah. In multiple landings when
right.
Almost landed on Andy's head, I heard. So. He's not here to defend himself.
Funny,
so
yeah, it's funny. Jake, bringing up Jake is he was great because after the 20 minutes, he was so apologetic. Like, guys, I'm sorry to do this, but we're done. We're like, that's okay, man. It was great.
Yeah. That's what we came here for. Yeah.
And then he said, we got it on footage, I believe, of him saying, he's like, I hope your camera's rolling because you don't see this every day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're talking to a guy with very little waterfowl experience here or anything of the sort. So what for myself and our listeners who might be in the same boat, what is the draw for these things? Because like we said, Texas is flat where y'all are at. What makes the spot that y'all are in the spot to be in?
You can go ahead, Tyler.
I honestly don't know, other than it's at the southern tip of the Central Flyway. From that perspective, there's a lot of crops. Obviously, they're focused on food during this time of year, but I don't know why. Just around Lubbock specifically, it's so prominent. But
he did mention that they loved how the ground was overturned.
Yes,
that was kind of a big thing for them. He's like, this time of year. I don't think anyone really touched on why it is that they love Lubbock so much.
Right.
They just do.
For y'all's hunts, did y'all put out decoys or how did all that work, and walk us through the setup process of a hunt?
So we got out there before sunrise, and both with Jake and Ethel, and all of us jumped right out, started pulling gear out, decoys, and we had these cockpit blinds. So the cockpit blinds you just lay down on the ground, and then we brush them in with tumbleweed. And so you're just laying on the ground, and as they come in, like you said, if they fly right over, you can see you, but it isn't as open as the snow goose when we're in the pit blinds in the snow goose, because you could look around, you can move, you can do whatever. One of the things the guides said were crane can see a lot better than most migratory birds. And so we had to be really cautious. So it was like deer hunting in that sense. You had to limit your motion, limit your movement. Like you said, we had tumbleweed all on top of us, and then we'd pop up, and then we'd have to put tumbleweed back on us. So we'd help set up the blinds, and then we put decoys out, and we put them, I believe, it was like in a horseshoe shape in front of us. And they certainly weren't as many as we had with the snow geese. Geez, I want to say, what do we have? Maybe 50 decoys out, right?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Compared to a couple thousand with the snow geese.
Hard plastic decoys with stakes, kind of a horseshoe / V with a couple feeders in the middle. And then obviously we were at the tip of the V in our little line, those layout blinds, just waiting for them to land. So no calling machine either, obviously just a hand caller. It was a typical what I would see if you were hauling a trailer for, say, goose, something like that. But not like snow geese for sure. That was a different game.
I feel like someone needs to mention it. I will, because it was funny. So we had to stop and get tumbleweed, and Tyler knows where I'm going.
As we're going
so going in, we had to load a bunch of the tumbleweeds are on the side of the road. So we all got out and put some tumbleweed in the back of Tyler's truck, And as they're driving, they're all coming back out because, I mean, they're big, and the wind's taking it. And so I'm in Andy's truck, and he's rolling down the windows. We're reaching out of the truck to hold on to the tumbleweeds to salvage what we can. And Jake did say when we loaded them, he's like, a lot of these probably won't make it to when we get there. How many did you guys have, by the time we got there?
Less than we started with.
Less than we started with.
He said that specifically. He's like, some are going to fall out, so well, let's get extras just in case. Like Delaney said, 100 yards down the road, they're all gone. Like every single one is out of the truck.
They're like Velcro on each other. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, they were piled way ahead, way above Tyler's cab, and yeah, it was crazy. It was fun.
Wow, that's funny.
You mentioned what's the attraction and what's the attraction to hunting geese, or not geese, I'm sorry, crane. For me, it was the idea that Andy planted, I think we talked about it after the first night of goose hunting, and we were just so on an adrenaline rush from that first day of the goose hunt. We're like, man, if we can shoot bigger birds and have the same adrenaline rush, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And so we certainly got that. But then I've also heard how good crane tastes, and people aren't lying. It is, oh my goodness. We fried it. We cooked up a bunch for Christmas dinner, and knock on wood, I haven't bit into one BB yet. So
that's
also
awesome.
good because their necks are a little bit longer, so you have a little bit bigger area bigger area to aim for. And so we there isn't a lot of the BBs or a lot of shot in the meat. I haven't found yet anyway. So knock on wood there.
They're a little slower too. Like geese, duck, you got to lead pretty well, but these guys are so slow to take off. You can just really put the BB right on and make your shot. So it was different in that sense. I know the first volley, I was thinking, oh, I got to act fast, but I was like, no, be a little more deliberate because they're a little slower to get out of the flocks.
That's a good point. I was going to ask if there was behavioral differences like that impacted your hunt. So that's interesting that they're slower. I understand they're big birds. So
yeah, they're slower moving, but like Jake and Ethel told us, they're faster in the sky, and you don't realize it because they're bigger.
Yeah.
That just, their wingspan is so big that they're covering a lot more ground, whereas the geese that have to, you know what I mean? They really have to flap their wings to cover the same distance,
right?
In the same amount of time. So
yeah,
that's a good point, because we saw that one Canada in with the Sandhill Crane. He looked so tiny, he or she. It was so tiny in comparison to the Sandhill Crane, which is just amazing because these are huge, right? So
yeah,
we actually had some specs come in one time, right? Didn't he switch his call to try to get some specs in for us too?
Yeah, no look.
Mixed in with the crane, so
yeah. So Todd, you touched on it with how good they taste, and obviously if anybody's heard about Sandhill Crane before, they might have heard the term ribeye of the sky. What's the meat compared to? Ribeye?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
It tastes just like a sirloin steak. Tastes like a ribeye. It tastes exactly like that.
Wow.
It's no gamey taste whatsoever. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
Very
How'd
good.
you cook it for Christmas? I'm curious.
We put it on an iron skillet with butter. That's it. Yeah, that's it. And we didn't have to add any herbs. We didn't have to add any spices. We didn't have to add anything to it. Just threw some butter on it, cooked it, like you said, 3 minutes one side, 3 minutes the other side, pull it off, and ate it.
Wow.
And everybody, I mean, it was gone so quick. So I think we still have a few fillets. In fact, my chiropractor wanted me to bring him in chunk. I'm like, after I tasted it, I don't think so. And then I brought my bird down to the taxidermist. I actually brought two birds. I saved two, and I had the bigger of the two mounted, but they wanted to keep the smaller one just in case they needed replacement parts and that sort of thing. And I didn't touch it. I didn't butcher it at all. And so the guy I was talking to at the shop, he goes, do you want the breast meat out of it? I'm like, heck yeah, I want the breast meat out of it.
Yeah.
I got it. I didn't know that you would take it and save it. He goes, well, I thought if you didn't take it, I was going to keep it. I'm like, heck no, I want it.
Discount, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How much meat do you get off of one bird?
So we were able to feed all four of us. So you get two breasts. So you just cut the breasts in half, and I don't know, what is it, like a 8 to 10 ounce sirloin, maybe?
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say 8 ounce per breast. So yeah, a couple 8 ounce steaks for each bird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good deal. So y'all mentioned obviously an early tag out on or limit out on day one. So what we all know how Fall Obsession hunting camp goes. So what the rest of the day entail?
Delaney sleeping. He took like a 5-hour nap, right?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No.
I'm like, if napping was an Olympic sport, I would have very large amount of gold medals. So I got a puppy chewing on my arm over here. Yeah, like when we got back to the camp after everything, I was like, you guys go have fun. I'm gonna go take a nap. And Kes and I both passed out for like 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. And we had Andy and I took on the Wolf Brothers, the Wolf Gang, and got our butts kicked in some cornhole. So we actually got clips of that on the video too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We got a clip in there. Tyler's a little excited, so.
So we just hung out and did, played cornhole and just relaxed and enjoyed each other's company and had a good time. Went over to, so there are 2 lodges. There was a small lodge and a bigger lodge, and we met our neighbors the night before because I told the story on the video as well. We had no clue what to expect, just kind of some basic information based on what Crooked Wing had told us, but we didn't know exactly what to expect. We didn't know if it was going to be like goose hunting. We didn't know if the birds actually were even in, we didn't know if they were seeing, we didn't know if they were seeing the number of birds that we saw at Goose Camp. So Cass, Andy, and I went over there and met some folks from Houston who listen to Fall Obsession quite a bit. So if they're out there, what's up, guys? Crazy bunch, I'm telling you. But they were very welcoming and very informative. They filled us in. There's a group of 16, and they maxed out in their time period out there. So they're out for about 4 hours. They maxed out. So they got 48 birds in that time frame, that 4-hour time frame.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, they said you're going to see like 20,000 birds, and we were thinking if we see that many, we got to get at least one volley, because again, I always go into this, if we get one bird, that's just icing on the cake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we'll have to split it up amongst 7 people, but
everybody gets a bite.
Yeah, bite to bite. Yeah, it's icing on the cake. But we felt pretty confident once we realized the number of birds that they had seen, that we were going to get opportunities, and we were able to put some crane on the ground too. So
yeah, I know, Todd, you told me, and kind of a sidebar with all that, but we all know and love hunting camp. It's a special place. There's not anything quite like it. It's it's family. It's a laid back, calm environment. It's relaxing. It's an awesome place to be. But when you told me that there were other folks in camp that had heard about Fall Obsession, that was surprising to me, and in a good way. It's just it's cool that our crews are meeting more people, are reaching more people like that, and being able to have those kind of interactions. And then for me, it's really cool to not only get to see you guys all getting together in various parts of the country, various hunts, but I know on y'all's way home, I went up there and met y'all in Wichita Falls and met y'all for a quick bite, quick meetup. And for me, it's just, even that just seems surreal almost, or referencing back to the staff hunt we had here in Texas in 2019, we know each other. We feel like we know each other well through podcasts, virtual meetings, interaction over the years and everything like that. But to actually get to sit down with somebody and, have a bite with them or talk with them for a little bit, it's just, I don't know. It's cool that we're to the point where we're having these opportunities to do that. And I'm really excited that y'all got to go down there and hunt crane. Not just have an incredible experience with that, but also get to hang out with each other and spend some time in camp as a crew. That's awesome. So
absolutely. And we sorry Delaney.
No, you go ahead.
We actually met a couple different groups of people. One the night before, that group of 16, and then they packed up and left in the morning. When we got back to the lodge and we're hanging out after our first hunt, I can't remember. I think Jake said, "Yeah, go ahead, go into the other lodge and just check it out." And then they told us, "Feel free. We could play ping pong." They had a ping pong table in there. They had a pool table in there, so they had games. So we were allowed to go in there and just kind of hang out and play those games and stuff. And we came walking out at one point, and there was another group pulling up. We're like, oh boy, okay, I think we need to pack up because this group is probably checking in. Well, it was a group that was hunting with crooked wing, but they weren't staying at the lodges.
Yeah.
And it was a couple dads with their kids, basically. And we were talking to the dads, and they were very familiar with fall obsession as well. So both groups we met were familiar with fall obsession.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
man, it's a good thing that I wasn't there, because I would have stayed on that ping pong table all day. I'm not any good. I just like it so much that I wouldn't have come off of it. So
Tyler learned all the logistics of beer pong with Watt, but he's like, these are some new rules I've never heard before.
That's right. That's right. It's like bar rules for billiards. Every bar is different, right?
Yeah, there you go. So,
well, just kind of bouncing off what you said, though, is like, whenever we go on these trips and stuff, every time I'm on these trips, I'm like, this all started with like a simple Google search of fall obsession application. When I heard about you guys back in 2018, 2019, I think it was, I was like, man, they got something going that I really want to be a part of. And I mean, never in a million years did I think it was going to explode like this, to where I'd be traveling the country, and doing all kinds of things I've never been able to do, For example, I've never done any sort of waterfowl hunts till I became part of Fall Obsession.
Me too.
So it's just kind of like, I have a lot of people that ask me locally, like, I wish I could be a part of that. And I'm like, there's, what's stopping you? That's kind of my mindset originally was, I wish I was, brave enough to go join a hunting group. Then I'm like, what? Why not? And now, like you said, when we were sitting at the restaurant together, I'm like, wow, this is so surreal. Because like I said, it was just a simple Google search that got us to this point, to where we're now like on a podcast. I mean, how much cooler can life get right now?
Right.
That's a great point, because I had that thought earlier about the evolution of fall obsession, how much we have evolved, even from the time that we first met in the Snow Goose last year. I think back and think of all the videoing and filming that we were trying, all the film and content we were trying to capture at that point, and try to put a video together, comparing that to what we were the final product of our crane hunt. And man, I think everybody did just an outstanding job of putting that thing together, and we're very proud of that, and we're looking forward to seeing what we can produce here at Snow Goose Camp. I know that Michael, TP, and Heath are coming with us as well, and they're already laying down footage. So they keep calling me frequently. Hey, what do I do this? We created a folder now. So, but anyway, it's just the evolution and how much we've evolved, and not just from the Snow Goose to now, but overall in the company and in the history. And, it's very exciting to see where we're headed. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. I enjoy seeing the growth and development, and just the bonds forming and becoming tighter, and we're, trying to take steps, as we've said before, with Todd and Tyler, both you guys in y'all's roles and everything within the company, trying to give ourselves more opportunities to do that. But then also, kind of aside from that, Delaney, you talked about how, starting to travel around and go on more hunts and stuff, and I think that's something that the average hunter might not realize how much more doable some of this stuff is than one might think. Yeah, there's travel commitments, there's investments that are involved, but not every hunt is a several $1,000 trip with an outfitter or anything like
Which
that.
is exactly why this is so enticing, because when that's kind of how I think we all kind of agreed, at least for me personally, with the Snow Goose hunt last year. Todd was like, here's how much we need. I'm like, okay, that much to go just do something that I probably won't be able to do for a long time? Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everyone thinks that, like, a lot of these trips are like, these like private several $1,000, trips, and no, quite far from it, actually. You can go on those, but we still have great time with our, cheaper version, and we still have the exact same experiences.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this, is I hope that for at least those who follow Fall Obsession, it's bringing more of a focus to these kind of things being more obtainable, whether it's going, with an outfitter like you guys have for the crane hunt and the snow goose hunt, or, doing over the counter stuff, out west or whatever the case might be. It's a lot more, these experiences are so much more doable than a lot of people realize, I feel like. And I'm glad that in various ways, each of you, are doing things to kind of draw attention to that, and hopefully in the grand scheme of things, we may never know for sure, but getting more people involved in the outdoors and experiences they might not get to do otherwise. So,
and it's also just equally inspiring too. I mean, like I have several friends that I've kind of encouraged to like join local groups and stuff, because they're not quite ready to go out a little further out. But I mean, just the more people you can get together, the more affordable these hunts are, and it's kind of the grand scheme of things. It's a win-win.
It's a network of resources, and everybody has their own local experiences, and not surprisingly, we all want to share them with other people. So you kind of open it up, or going to Delaney's, go fishing, going down to Missouri to go fishing. I mean, we're just going. Obviously, people can come here and hunt deer if they want to. It's like everybody's kind of opening up their local and saying, "Hey, come on down."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that point up, Sam, too, because a lot of people that watch Outdoor Channel, watch Sportsman's Channel, watch some of these, they think that, they're going through outfitters. They have to have that set because of their time schedule, blah, blah, blah. Not necessarily. If you look at what we have going on here, yes, we went through an outfitter with a crane hunt, went through an outfitter with a goose hunt, but like Kendra down in Georgia, for example, she threw out just the other day, anybody want to come down here turkey hunting?
Yeah.
So she's going to take them on their property. All you got to do is buy a tag. You know what I mean? So you're not paying, like you said, thousands of dollars to go through an outfitter. We're not always hunting with an outfitter. We got a Kentucky deer hunt that's being looked at. Tim's working on an Alchemele hunt right now that he's going to take us out on. He's already offered up. So Tyler had Andy hunted on your property, right? The night before or the day before we came out. So we have opportunities. Bradley has talked about coming here to my house next fall. So we have all kinds of opportunities, and like you said, it's not very costly. I mean, the crane hunt even wasn't very costly, and we're trying to get more people next year because so much fun. It was so easy, actually. It was so easy we met up at Tyler's actually, and then we all jumped in the truck the next morning and then drove down to Texas, and it was flawless, really.
And that's just, again, that just goes back to the family network and the family aspect and really part of what hunting's all about. And hey, let's go have fun and have this experience, and tying it all together. It's not expensive. Like Todd, I know you said that hunting pigs or hunting anything in Texas was a bucket list thing for you, and of course down here for me, I'm in a different world. Shooting a pig is no sweat off my back, on my place. But hey, let's get it done. You came down to Texas in the hottest part of the year you possibly could, and we got it done. I mean, it's just all it takes is the initiative, and like I said, there's travel costs and in some cases licensing costs involved. But to everybody's point, it doesn't have to be a super expensive excursion. So.
Exactly. But heck, a lot of fun too.
Absolutely, for sure.
In fact, I hit Tyler up. When was it? A couple weeks ago, Tyler?
What's that? For which one?
When I said
for which one?
I hit him up just a few minutes before we went on too. But see if he had hogs in Kansas. You got hogs in Kansas? I said all my pig meat from Texas is gone. I need some more hog meat.
Plenty of medicine here. No pigs though. Oh, we have pigs. We can't hunt them. Unfortunately.
Well, if my pigs light up like they did last time, I know I got some staff that I got to get down here for some hunts, Tim and Drew and some guys. But yeah, every year down here it seems like, or at least I say every year, the past 2 years I've seen a consistent pattern. January, February, them being pretty locked down, and about March they start cranking back up again. So.
Well, I had a really interesting conversation with my brother. We just moved into our grandma's house. We fixed it up and everything. And I was just casually sitting on the couch, and Andrew's like, yeah, we got the best view in the house. And I'm like, yeah, it's a great view. And he's like, no, like there's a deer path right there in our field. I used to watch it when I was a kid. And I'm like, really? So you're saying that I could in theory, have the followed session crew here, and we could hunt from the kitchen window. And he's
Well,
like, yeah, I mean, me and Dad used to watch them all the time. So I'm like,
cooking up some crane.
yeah.
It's so funny. This is sidebar, but there's so many. Like I feel like people go way off deep into the woods sometimes, and the deer just hang out close to the house. In that situation. Then like my dad and I, so we have, on the Texas dirt place during the fall, we keep our camper out there, so we have a place to stay out there. And there's some oil well guys and stuff that drive through, so I have a camera hidden on the camper just to make sure that nobody's messing with it like they shouldn't. We've never had an issue, thankfully, but every time I go out there, I check that camera, and I have pictures of deer walking right past camp, right through camp, on that camera sometimes. And then it seems like every time my dad and I drive up and down the main road up toward the north end where the camper is, there's always does or something in the woods. And this last year, we actually took some time to scout and find a couple spots close to camp where you could literally just wake up and walk 100, 200 yards out in the woods and be in your stand, because it's like deer hanging out up here, so why not? Yeah. So
Did I tell you that story? Did I tell you that story a couple years ago? I don't remember if I told you, but got a buddy named Pat that comes out and he rabbit hunts our property quite a bit in the wintertime. But then he'll also, at the end of the season, he'll come out and shoot does off our property as well. So a couple years ago, our farmer that leased the front field that we have here, right up here by the house, just on the other side of the horse pasture, planted winter wheat out there. And so every day when we come home, we look out and we would have like 40 or 50 deer out in the field. That field was just like covered with deer, just eating the winter wheat. And so he asked me to come out hunting one night. I'm like, yeah, you can come on out hunting. And I couldn't go because I was getting home late that night. So I sent him back to my stand in the back part of the property. And he texted me halfway through the night. He's like, dude, I haven't seen a thing out here. He's like, are you seeing anything up there? I'm like, yeah, the field is covered with deer up here. He's like, oh, I'll be up in a minute.
Yeah.
So sure enough, he snuck up. He comes in the house with his gun. I'm like, I gotta take my shoes off. I don't walk across the carpet. What should I do? Where do I go? I'm like, dude, put your shoes back on. Yeah. So we snuck around the front of our house and set up like literally just outside of just off our front patio here. And he ended up shooting a couple does. So it was kind of funny.
My dad tells a story of a hunt club he was part of way back in the day in South Carolina, right when he first started getting into deer hunting. And, there'd be all these guys that would go way back off into the woods to their stands and everything. And there was this one old timer that he never went back in there. He just, every evening, take his gun, go sit by the front gate. And he shot just as many, if not more deer than some of the guys on that hunt club. So.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I got to tell you something real quick.
Yeah.
My phone was just ringing. Michael TP, and then Andy called right after. So you talk about that connection.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
In the middle of the podcast. Here we go.
You have, I mean, and rightfully so in your role. You have you reach out to everybody, and everybody kind of comes back to you too. So I will say, I know Todd and Heather and all y'all sitting here are part of the glue that holds this family together for sure, especially in that Midwestern crew. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I know we have a time limit on the back end, but before we hang it up, I wanted to go around and ask everybody to give us your favorite moment from the crane hunt, and then two, one of the most valuable things you think you took away from it. So Delaney, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I can immediately tell you my favorite part was the moment we saw them swarming. Like the first time with Jake, the sun had just come up. To give you a good idea of what exactly went down, we had finished setting up and we were settling in, and he's like, all right, here we go. And Todd's like, now? And so, yep, sure enough, I'm getting goosebumps all over again. So when I had just settled in, I was getting the camera on. Like, I was just like, okay, where's my water? Where's my snacks? Because we're going to be here for a while. Didn't need it. But yeah, right as he was like, all right, here we go. What was it, like maybe 3-4 minutes of him saying, here we go. It was just swarms from that point on. And it was such a rush to be like, this is not a normal thing. Like, even Jake said that. He's like, this isn't something you see every day. And I was like, wow, I am like so in the moment. I was like, I really hope I was recording. And then it turns out I was. But it was kind of one of the things where everything happened so fast and it was so amazing. And like my takeaway from that is I had no interest in crane hunting beforehand. It was more of a, I have time. Who knows? Maybe it'll be fun. And my biggest life lesson is don't ever say you don't have an interest in something because it might be the coolest experience you ever have.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, if you want to say you're strictly, you know, like, oh, I just strictly do waterfowl or strictly do, you know, hunt deer. I mean, that's because you don't know anything else, you know, and that's kind of where I've changed my mindset because of this hunt, because of the snow goose hunt. I just went on a pheasant hunt. All of those, I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I end up having a ball.
Yeah.
So my lesson that I like, my takeaway from this is, you know, I'm extremely open-minded every time a fall obsession trip pops up. Because I thought, I mean, my list is growing now of experience, you know, and I'm nothing but thankful. So, yeah.
Yeah, I always go back and reference, we had, when Drew came on the podcast to talk about his axis hunt, you know, a bucket list hunt in his mind. He was like, I don't think I checked one off the bucket list. I think I just created something else I got to go do again, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think
I
there's
can
some truth
absolutely
to that.
relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Tyler, what about you?
Best experience, or I guess it's kind of it's kind of an embarrassing one for myself because on day one we didn't have a dog, a retrieval dog, so I was running out there retrieving these birds, and these guys they're a little scary up close, right? They got those big old beaks and big old long necks, and so I was running at them, and I would just kind of karate kick the head to to grab them. One time I missed because I think the bird just matrixed me, just like he was like ducked under it, and I totally whiffed. I fell down, had to circle back around, and I finally got the bird, but it was a little embarrassing for me. I think Delaney got it on film.
I was going to say, where's
I
the
think
video
I
of
did,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was shortly after we lost our PETA sponsorship.
Yeah. Or wily birds, that's what I'll say. And the takeaway I have is the difference of the meat. I have a different understanding of how to cook bird meat, specifically from Sandhill Crane. Obviously, I have goose in the freezer. I've got pheasant and dove and all these different things. And after cooking the Sandhill Crane, I'm like, what else can I do that's similar to that across these other species? And so I'm trying a few other things, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. But it's opening my mind a little bit on how to cook birds.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. Todd, what about you?
I've got a few, and I just happen to look over my shoulder, and there's our green picture right there.
Yeah, there it is. Podcast video. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I have a few favorite moments. First is when Delaney, after we were done on day one, she looks into the camera and said, "We're done, y'all. We're done. 21 birds in 20 minutes." And it kind of hit me. It's like, oh my goodness, we shot more than one bird per minute.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And certainly unexpected. And then my second favorite part of the trip was just hanging out with these guys on the car ride, and just all the stories we tell, and just enjoying that time with them. On, you know, you spend, 10 hours down from Tyler's house, and even the night before we took off, hanging out with Tyler, we woke. I'm sure we woke his wife up a few times. She was already in bed by the time we got there, but we were having a good time.
Yeah.
She was so nice. She never once complained about the fact that we were like so loud.
She's probably used to it.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. So
Probably used to
it. Well, that's awesome, and I could tell that, like, the brief time that I met up with y'all, you know, and after we said our goodbyes and y'all loaded up in Andy's truck and took off. Of course, y'all were all making fun of Delaney for being in the driver's seat, and slightly scared for your lives. I couldn't tell if that was legit or not, but y'all are still here, so there's that. But
Yeah,
you know,
so I don't think I want to do that again. It was more of I just felt bad that I was the only one who hadn't driven, but did I want to? No, that thing was a tank. And you know, like I had the camera rolling on the way there and a little bit on the way back. and reviewing that footage, I have like smacked my forehead so many times, like, oh my gosh. Like when Andy ate the Skittle out of his boot, like just the
Yeah,
whole trip
that
itself.
TikTok was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's,
That and like the face of horror I made. I didn't know I made that face. Like, yeah.
that
I
that's
mean
that's the
that was
stuff you can't
awesome.
make up. That's the stuff that comes naturally. You can't make up. And I'm not the greatest road tripper. I really am not. But I watched that truck pull away. I was like, that's gonna be a fun ride right there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun. So
And you got like Andy, who's a walking meme. So I mean, he absolutely made that trip great. And like Kess, this was his first time meeting the crew. When I introduced him to everybody, and immediately Andy was like, where are you from? How do you know Delaney? Do you like to hunt this? Do you like to hunt that? And before you know it, Kess is like very much comfortable talking to Andy. And then once we got there, he got to really meet the rest of the crew and just immediately meshed really well with everybody.
yeah.
Because I could tell at the very beginning, I think he was a little shy. I mean, who wouldn't be, But then he learned, oh, well, these people are just like big kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're more immature than me. So
Exactly.
no,
I think he got to Tyler's house before you, right, Delaney? And so
Yeah, he beat me there.
so
And yeah, like on the way there, like I was concerned on the flight there that I was like, oh, I really hope that that he's comfortable the whole time. And by the time I got there, everybody was talking to him more than they were talking to me. And I was like,
but he was whispering to Delaney, what the heck did I get myself into here?
I was like, hold on, Todd's here.
there's no going back now, buddy.
Yeah. And Kess and I are we text a couple times a week of just plans and stuff, and we talked just about a couple days ago about like setting up maybe a deer camp, that we can open up to Fall Obsession crew, and he's just so excited to see kind of where he can go with Fall Obsession.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm really happy.
And that's cool to see our family grow too as a result of these events, because we, if there's spots to fill on a hunt roster, there are people that are close to us so that we know that we extend those to. Obviously, you said, as you mentioned, this is Kess's first trip, and he's since joined the team and become officially, an adopted family member, if you will. And then, and back in 2019 at the Texas deer hunt, that was Andy too. We never met Andy, and Drew just it was just a buddy that Drew wanted to bring down. And like I can remember we were waiting on our guide for that trip. He was running late. So we're literally my truck, which had me, my dad, and Nick Powell in, and then Drew's truck with Drew and Andy. We're just pulled over on the side of this county road because we couldn't get through the gate or anything, and until he got there, and we're just standing in a ditch, literally, and just hanging out and getting to know Andy, and it was just, from there it was just a blast. I mean, we all know how he is, so
yeah.
But,
and I'm always in awe when we meet new people and just how much we mesh with each other. And you can tell instantly, like you said, Cass, when we met him, we could tell him within the first few minutes, this guy would be a great addition to our team, and so, and it just, evolved from there. So,
Yeah.
Well, great talking to you guys. And the Crane recap is not over because, as we mentioned, Kess and Andy were a part of this experience, and we want to get them on the podcast as well. It gets, as we've done in the past, we try to keep it to 4 max on the podcast here with the virtual ones, because if we try to pack everybody in here, it would never end, and Todd wouldn't get to his commitment afterwards, so it'd be a little chaotic. But we're gonna set up part 2 with Andy and Kess, and get them on the podcast. But thank you guys very much for coming on and recapping your experience, and I look forward to hearing about the next one. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we got that goose hunt coming up in 2 weeks now. So
yeah, expect some sick footage coming your way.
Yeah.
We're trying to, so you talk about the evolution, we had talked about having a production meeting already. And so a year ago, we didn't think about having a production meeting. We didn't think about creating storyboards. We didn't think about how we would put the story down. We just thought we're going to get content, put it out there,
Bunch of dudes hanging out, dudettes.
Yeah. No, it's come a long way, and we're glad to be making progress like that. So
yeah.
For our listeners, thank y'all for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. If you haven't already, hit that follow and subscribe button wherever you are listening or streaming on. We're on all major podcast platforms, as well as YouTube and Carbon TV. So whatever the case is, be sure that you follow, subscribe, turn your notifications on, all that good stuff. We post new podcast episodes weekly every Monday morning. And it's stuff like this. It's hanging out with good people that in the hunting outdoor industry, some part of our Fall Obsession family, some not, that we're happy to have join us. So the podcast videos are on the YouTube channel, as well as a bunch of other series. Our Texas Dirt series is on there. We got a couple other videos right now in our editing room. The crane hunt that we're recapping here is on that YouTube channel. You guys can go watch that video. And then we're pretty excited. We haven't announced it yet. It's coming soon, but we got a couple of new series for 2023 that we've been having some production meetings on that we're fixing to roll out. So I'm pretty stoked about some of those. To be announced on those, but social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, go wild, go subscribe, follow us on all those platforms. We're also on TikTok now. Fall Obsession Media is the handle for TikTok, so head on over there as well. We're still building that platform up. FallObsession.com is the website. It's the hub. That's where you guys can go to find all of our content, our video series, gear reviews, podcasts, wild game recipes, educational articles. All of it is on there, as well as our apparel. Todd's rocking one of our newest hat designs with the leather patch. I see Delaney's got the blackout hoodie on. So we got a bunch of stuff on there that you guys can go check out. Finally, Ridge Rock Hunt Company. There you go. There's the sleeve on that hoodie. So Ridge Rock Hunt Company, they are the podcast partner, Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi. They book hunts with vetted outfitters across the country. So I know we talked a little bit about, kind of the affordable side of, making your own experiences happen and everything like that. But if you are looking to go with a vetted and trusted outfitter and you're guaranteed a good experience, give Derek a call. He'll work with you on timeline, licensing, budget, the whole 9 yards to make something happen that's right for you. So Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check them out. Thank you guys again. I enjoyed it as always.
Yeah, Sam.
Thanks, Hank.
Yeah. Thank you.
You bet. All right, guys. Thank y'all for listening. We're back again next week for another Fall Obsession podcast. Todd's still here, so I still got to stay obsessed.
Stay obsessed. Yeah.